Jack and his wife reside in Lancaster and have 3 adult sons. Please put your hands together and help me welcome our speaker, Jack Nehlig.
Thank you, Courtney, and thank you, everybody. What an honor it is to be here. And what was left out is I've never spoken to a Rotary Club before, so I'm very nervous about that. I hope I meet your expectations in this, I guess, business show and tell portion of the agenda. So, happy Valentine's Day, and I'm having a very central Pennsylvania moment. As she pointed out, I live in Lancaster, I work in Harrisburg, and now I'm speaking in York, so I think we're covering all the bases. The 3 things we'll go over is a little bit of telling you about Phoenix Contact, a part in the middle which will be about our culture, because Courtney asked me to speak on that. We kind of like how we run our company and our employees. And lastly, I thought, you know, it's a presentation on business, and what business leader doesn't like complaining about healthcare costs, so we should all do that. So I'll tell you about our journey on healthcare costs. So without further ado, it doesn't like it.
I'm sure the switch is on the side.
Yeah, on the side.
Oh, yeah. That's the way to go. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. As Courtney pointed out, we are a privately held German company. That's our headquarters in Germany with about 5,000 people working there. If it looks a little bit like central Pennsylvania, that's correct. It looks a lot like central Pennsylvania. Rolling Hills, it's a furniture making region in the old days, and now it's an automation and control company. When I said privately held, it's family owned and privately held, and we have 0 debt and 0 ownership outside the family. So we have 17,000 employees worldwide and over $2 billion in sales, so it's kind of neat. We run the business out of a checkbook. This is our little headquarters in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So to be specific, if you drive up 283 from Lancaster to Harrisburg and you're going to get off at the airport, just before you get off at the airport on the right, you'll see that 4-story mirrored building and then the other buildings attached to it. We've been in the U.S. since 1981, and when I joined the company 16 years ago, we had 250 employees in the company. Today we have 750 employees, so we just keep growing slowly, and we're real happy with being a great company in the U.S. What we make, she talked about automation and control, so I'm going to go through that for a few minutes and give you an idea what that is. We're in places you don't think about. So if the best way to think about it, we're in manufacturing, number 1, and then industrial infrastructure, number 2. So if we take Harley-Davidson plant down the road, they've got machines in that plant. Inside those machines are electrical products. We make the electrical products that make the machines do their thing, commonly known as automation and control. Low voltage, 24-volt control of machines. Those are all the bits and pieces of things that we make on that picture. Here's, again, the numbers of the company. We're about 2 billion euro, if you will, and about 17,000 employees worldwide. 75% of the business is outside of Germany these days. That thing on the left is what's commonly known as a control cabinet. So it's a little closet. They can be big, they can be small. You bring in high voltage AC, you then first thing you do is step it down to low voltage, 24-volt control, and all those things in there do all the work to make a factory or an industrial infrastructure thing do its thing. So we are in automotive plants and plants like Harley-Davidson. We are in all kinds of machine building. It doesn't matter what industry it can be. We make things that go on those machines. We are in the oil and gas industry, so if you go down to Houston and you see massive oil refineries, up in Marcellus Shale, all the equipment used to suck gas out of the ground, all those things have our products in them. The electric power infrastructure in this country has a lot of automation and control in it to make sure your power stays on. Telecom industry, every cell tower you see is a big lightning rod, and when lightning hits it, it wants to blow up the electronic equipment at the bottom that makes your cell phone work. So we help protect all that with special devices. And transportation, all your trains, tunnels, all kinds of things, we help automate and control those environments. And then most importantly, water and wastewater treatment plants. We all want that to work very well, right? We want to be able to drink and also flush the toilet. So So that's a big control environment. And then in building infrastructure, we're not in homes, so you won't find our products in your house, but you might find our products somewhere in a building infrastructure like this, controlling things. So that's what we do. We sum it up into industrial electronics. So inside of those things these days, you're going to find little PC boards. And those PC boards have components on them, and you typically have to bring wires to those PC boards. We get involved in all that stuff. So that's what we do. Now, quickly to our culture and leadership. We have some culture statements, and my favorite culture statement is this one. We call it trusting partnerships. And as you can see, I've red marked the part of that I like the most. So we're an industrial company, not a B2C, not a restaurant or a bank or something. But in industrial companies, you don't often find the word friendliness in your culture statement. So we have this word friendliness, and I challenge all my leaders and everybody that works there to be friendly. So you have to say good morning to people, you have to smile at folks, you have to say how you doing. And for 16 years I've been giving this speech when we train customers, talk to customers, distributors, new employees, and I say, look, if you can find another industrial company with the word friendliness anywhere in their mission, vision, or culture statements, you tell me, I'll come out to where you live and I'll buy you dinner. And for 16 years I've said that, and I've never been able to buy somebody dinner. So anyway, we take it very seriously, and that's one of the secrets of our culture. We're a happy, friendly little bunch up there in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And then we spend a lot of time making sure our leadership lives our values and our culture. And we train very specifically on leadership. And here are our 7 leadership principles. It starts with being a role model. You, of course, have to deliver some results. You got to have great initiative. You know, be a leader to lead people, do something. Really expand trust in our business. You know, the culture of trust is so very important. Got to show respect and appreciation. Got to be a great communicator. And then lastly, you got to promote and develop your people. So we have paragraphs and long training models behind all those things, but leadership to me is the key to creating a great culture in your company. If your leaders live these things and really bring it to life, I think that's the secret to having a fun and great culture. So we define it and we live it, and it's part of our magic. And then lastly, I thought I'd give you a little commercial on wellness and healthcare. So we've all experienced this over the years, our rising healthcare costs. We just went through a period where our government enacted a new legislation, you know, the Affordable Care Act, and we yet all still see spiraling increases in our costs. So as a business leader, I've been looking at this for years and living it myself as a family. And my philosophy on this is most business leaders think it's just a financial issue, and you sort of delegate it to your HR VP and your finance person to change your insurance contracts or make your employees pay more, and then sooner or later that'll fix the problem, right? Or you change your policies or something. But what the real secret of it is, the only way to control it is to get heavily involved in it. And as a business leader, I think it's awesome to be involved in this, because when do you get to work on something as a business leader that truly benefits your company? Because it's a cost, it's a huge cost for your business, but it truly benefits the worker, the employee. Usually you work on things to grow your business, do that, create profits, but they don't directly benefit the employee. But if you really work on wellness and healthcare, you are clearly helping both. So I think it's the number one thing you should work on as a leader. And if you look at your business, in my business, it's $8 million cost for me. So it's the single largest cost I can actually work on. So I don't see any reason why I wouldn't work on it. So that's my philosophy in wellness and healthcare. So healthcare is the problem and wellness is the solution. So here's how we've gone about it up at Phoenix Contact. First of all, do any of you in LinkedIn? Okay, good. A few of you in LinkedIn. Social media platforms, aren't they wonderful? I'm in LinkedIn and Twitter and various other ones. So one day, it was last week as a matter of fact, I saw this posting by someone, and they were commenting on Jeff Bezos, how he shared his 3-step formula for success, and it was absolutely brilliant. And I read it quickly that morning. By the way, his 3 secrets, if you didn't read it, were first and foremost, hire good people. Wasn't a big secret to me. Second one was listen to them, don't talk at them. Pretty good, heard that before. And then the third one was focused on the long term in your business, not the short term. Okay, that's good too. Wasn't that amazing to me, but it was Jeff Bezos, so everybody reads it. He's Amazon if you don't know. He's Mr. Amazon. So, but also in the article they talked about how Amazon, Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, and some healthcare provider are going to team up and solve the healthcare crisis. So I was blown away by that, and I thought, this is amazing. So anyway, I don't often comment on LinkedIn, but I decided to comment. That's my comment down there. I said, Bezos' formula is correct, but most U.S. publicly traded companies won't allow people to do number 3, the focus on the long-term thing. So I was just making a political statement. And then I wrote, as to the healthcare problem, maybe I can focus it on, I said, as to the healthcare problem, I can shortcut it for them, build a wellness culture in your company, embrace functional integrative medicine. And then I said, now I think I'm going to go to work and do some number 3, which is my job. So that's my philosophy. It's not that hard. You've got to focus on really a wellness culture. And then the second part, this functional integrative medicine, is sort of a new topic for a lot of people. And that's my philosophy. So anyway, here we go. So there's my people. They're running at the Harrisburg Mile. This is a really interesting fitness event. You run 1 mile and get to drink beer at the end. It's amazing. I don't have any trouble getting them to go to this one. They love going to this one. We hold wellness fairs every day. There's Paul McGinty at the bottom. He's 70 years old and he's learning how to box with our personal trainer, Ashley. By the way, we allow free personal training in our gym at work for anybody that works there. It's amazing they don't overuse it. I don't get it, but our feeling is if they're going to use the equipment, let's keep them safe. And then that's me doing, bench presses. Because every year during our wellness fair we have a bench press contest and we see how many we collectively can do when we break it into departments and have a competition. And then the next day nobody can move their arms. We walk around like this all the time. It's the silliest little event. And then on the right I just listed all kinds of other things. We promote fitness as a part of wellness a lot, and that's really key. And then you got to educate your employees. So Highmark's been our healthcare provider many years. They have these tools that you can use to get people to learn things, and we have a point system, and if you don't play the game and gain 150 points, we're going to hit you with a little money, a little carrot and a stick. But if you just go in and click away and learn something, it's really easy, then we don't hit you with any extra money. We just leave you alone. So, but it's all about education. What it is a long-term education. Every year you have to earn your 150 points, and every year you learn a few little things about healthcare. That's it. It's no big deal. But you got to educate folks on the topic, and this is other things we do. Every week we have a lunch and learn on some wellness or fitness initiative, and then over there is on the left, you can't read it, but it's about 70 different modules you could learn about anything fitness or wellness related. So we help educate the employee on the topic immensely. And then lastly, we're lucky, okay? We've gotten to over 500 people on the campus up there, so we've now put a cafeteria in. But when I decided to put the cafeteria in about 4 or 5 years ago, I told the employees, I said, but it's going to be a healthy place. It's not going to be unhealthy. Pardon me. And so the first rule was, I told them they're not getting a deep fryer. So there is no deep fryer in our cafe. Another example is we get all of our vegetables for our salad bar. We get them out of the Lancaster County Co-op, which is over 100 organic farms working together to provide organic produce. So those are the ideas. So we have healthy cooking for our employees at all times. And then they can bring the food home to their families. So you got to educate them, you got to feed them, you got to give them fitness and wellness activities, and away you go. And then the last straw in the formula is the medical part, right? You get sick, you go to a doctor. Typically our mainstream medicine philosophy in this country is you get sick, you go to the doctor, they give you a drug. That's the answer. That's what you get. It has nothing to do with prevention of disease. So we chose to put an on-site clinic at our company. We have a doctor and a nurse practitioner and a nurse, and they practice functional and integrative medicine. Functional integrative medicine is all focused on preventing disease, preventing you from getting sick. We are the second company in the United States to have an on-site functional and integrative medicine clinic. The first one is the Cleveland Clinic itself out in Ohio. They have one for their employees. So we're real proud about this. It's working really, really well. We've, for about 1.5 years, we've had this installed. I'll just give you 2 stories. One lady, about 55 years old, over the last decade or so, had gained 50 to 75 pounds. Started getting different ailments. Would go to the doctor, prescribe this, prescribe that. She was on about $30,000 of drugs a year, was feeling like crap, and had turned into a not so fun employee to be in the company. After 3 months of working with our doctors, she's now down to 1 drug, has lost 50 to 75 pounds, happy as can be, and her moral of the story is she said that it's the first time she's ever been to a doctor that cared about her and cared about preventing her disease and getting her off of drugs. Second example I can give you is we had an employee who, for all of her life, had irritable bowel syndrome, was dealing with this severe pain all these years, was on drug after drug after drug. We had only had her in our company for about 5 years. She had dealt with this all of her life. And she was just about to go have surgery. Within 3 months of working with our doctor, she's completely off our drugs, has never had a pain in her gut, and lives a wonderful life. That's the difference, functional integrated medicine versus mainstream medicine. So there's our docs. Please don't stalk them on the internet. They're going to work for me, not you. They're wonderful folks. The secret of it is really your digestive system. The key to your health is actually in your gut. All of your disease basically stems from your gut, and that's about the only place. And it's called leaky gut syndrome, and it's all about inflammation, autoimmunity, blood-brain barrier breaching, all kinds of neat things. So that's the moral of the story. The secret is what you eat, and the secret is working with leaders, meaning these doctors and nurses, to help you figure out what's right and wrong for your body, because it's not the same for everybody. So, now, raise your hand if you think your healthcare costs, either personally or in your company, has raised itself 5% a year for the last 10 years. How about 10% a year for the last 10 years? Okay. Greater than that, anybody, maybe? Okay. Here's our story. This is our last 10 years. We've averaged 4% a year for the last 10 years. If my company was to average 10% a year for the last 10 years, that's what the cost I would have today. The difference is $4.8 million, and I only have 700 employees in my company. I would be paying $4.8 million more if I did the national average of about 10. But my company's been averaging 4. We believe we can get this to 0 because we've just installed our functional integrated medicine clinic only 18 months ago. All those other things I talked to you about earlier were what got it to only 4. So we think we have a chance now to go flat and maybe even reduce our overall expense per employee. So anyway, that was the story I wanted to share with you today. I'm trying to create believers in this whole wellness culture thing. It's just one of my personal passions. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you that story, plus the story of Phoenix Contact. And thank you for having me here. And if you have any questions, I can answer them. I don't know, on my own time. Okay, perfect. Yes, sir.
What's your policy on smoking?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Here's the real answer to that story. I got myself in trouble in smoking. So about 7 or 8 years ago, along the journey, the staff and I, we made a decision we would stop smoking anywhere on our campus. Our employees can smoke. I mean, it's their personal life. They just can't do it anywhere on our physical campus. We also charge, by the way, I forgot to mention, we only charge 7% of the healthcare costs to our employees. We pay 93% of their healthcare. And every year my insurance company tells me I'm crazy, and every year I tell them, get out of my office, I'm going to do that. So we always pay them 93%, so they only pay 7%. So a family of 4, they may pay $1,000 out of their paycheck for the whole year. But if they're a smoker, I charge them $850 more. So that smoker is $1,850. If they self-declare and say, I am, we charge them. If they don't declare, I assume they're not. If we ever, for some reason, believe they are, then we call that lying, and that's not good. So then we deal with it. So then I tried installing a policy, or I wouldn't hire smokers to let more into my pool. But my headquarters in Germany told me I wasn't allowed to do that. I did it, and then they made me change it. If you go to Cleveland Clinic and many of the healthcare providers in this area, they're stopping hiring people who smoke. By the way, if you are a smoker in my company, we will pay all the costs, 100% of the costs of any smoking cessation help that you need. So if you want to do whatever, hypnotism, go to some Smokers Anonymous, whatever it is, we help you with all that for free. You don't have to pay for that. So we're down to, by the way, I think the number is we're down to about 30 smokers out of 700 people. And by the way, when I put the policy in, I thought I was going to get strangled by my smokers. I had over half of them give me a big hug. Literally. They would tell me, thank you so much, I needed this. I needed somebody to push me over the edge and make me quit. And over half of them have quit. Yes, sir.
Follow up on the same thing, maybe a dumb question, but if somebody quits on their own with no help and no expense, do you give them a gift or something?
Do I give them a gift of good health? That's what I give them. No, I don't. It's a good idea, though. Maybe we will. But we offer all that stuff to them, so it's up to them. Yes?
Do you ask your leadership team to model good health behavior?
Oh, yeah. So I'm lucky. That's a really great question. In any of this and in anything in your company, if your leaders aren't role models, that's one of our things. You know, if you're not doing what you preach, you're in big trouble. So I'm lucky. I have a staff of 5 or 6 work directly for me and a whole bunch of others that really do a great job of modeling the healthcare behavior. I mean, are there a few exceptions? Yes. But that's okay. I mean, that's what it's like in life. But yeah, my staff is really big on it anyway. I'm just really lucky. Yes, sir.
What was your cost to implement the program, and what's the ongoing cost to maintain?
So I'll break that into a couple pieces, right? The program, what the question was, what is the cost to implement the program? I'm thinking he's meaning my overall wellness efforts.
Yeah, not the insurance cost.
Yeah. So if we break it into pieces, right? So 15 years ago or so, we started all of our normal wellness activities, which are fitness programs, the cost of the trainer, and all that stuff. I don't have a number on that, but what was amazing is the day we put a lot of that in, Highmark gave us money. My insurance company wrote us a check because they have some programs. If you install various things in your company, they'll give you money. So they did. So most of that's really cheap to do. You know, my personal trainer, it's, you know, we pay. We might pay her $5 to $10 grand a year, but then I have people using the gym. So it is a cost, but then I think I get it back in fitness levels with the employee. The big one, of course, is the clinic, and that clinic isn't cheap. Right now, in this year's budget, it'll be about $700,000 to have that clinic. I have 700 employees, and that we're in a startup mode. So now, as more people use those ladies, my costs will go down in medicine. My costs will go down because they're not using an outside doctor, right? If they go to an outside doctor, I pay out. Inside doctor, I've already paid for her. So I'm going to say having that clinic was, if I added up, at least $1 million investment in the beginning. But remember, if I pay $8 million, and if I can save 5% on that, that's $400,000 a year. I'm going to get my money back, but it is clearly an investment. It's a really good question. If you're going to put in an on-site clinic in your company, you got to get the checkbook out. You're going to have to make a big investment like you would make in anything. So, and then other than that, there's no other real costs on the rest of it. It's all right pocket, left pocket, easy stuff. Yes, sir.
You said that there are 70-some topics, health topics that your employees can look at.
Sure.
What are the most popular?
Ooh. One that fascinated me was square foot gardening. So how to make a good garden at your house to grow your own vegetables. Wow, I don't know what the most popular would be. The doc gives one of those lunch and learns on the leaky gut. That had over 200 people in it last time we talked about it. That was fascinating. I don't know, everybody reads they just go on and browse through that list. But I can make the list available to everybody too. You know, we can give you all this information and share it with you. But I apologize, I can't pick one. But the leaky gut was good, and square foot gardening. We do cooking classes too to teach people how to cook. So it's a good question. Yes, sir.
So how did you find your focus on functional and integrative medicine? Did that come through the dialogue with Highmark?
Wow.
Or did you find your own way there? And then how hard was it to build a clinic around that approach?
That's a really great question. So the question was about how did we get into this whole idea of functional and integrative medicine as opposed to just a doctor. I was headed 100 miles an hour down the doctor path. I was just going to put a doctor in, figuring more convenient makes better healthcare. I heard a speech one time about a company that touched on this functional integrative thing, and so we just started reading about it. And at this speech, I just met somebody over lunch kind of thing, and they were a provider who sets up clinics for functional integrative medicine outside clinics. And just in dialogue with my VP of HR, and we just started reading it. It took us about a year to convince ourselves this is what we wanted to do, and we just did it. So it was sort of by accident. It was
But
really
independent
weird.
of Highmark? Independent.
Yeah, no, Highmark didn't help. They didn't do it. I mean, they're a good company, but they didn't do it. We did it. We did it all on our own.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, one more? Yes, sir.
What is your record on employee attendance and being able to track what that has meant to productivity?
What is my record on employee attendance, and what does it have to, how does it help my productivity? So the real number is I did lose 50 employees last year to turnover of my 700, so whatever that math is, it's about 7%. Not happy about that, but that's what happens. I would say about a third of those we terminated because they didn't perform well. They weren't good workers, mostly not good teammates. That's why we don't allow people to stay. So that number's been kind of consistent, so it's about 5 or 6%, a little bit. It was a little high last year. I was surprised. I think the economy is causing people to start jumping jobs a little bit more jobs are available. As to productivity, so I think this culture we've created up there, and not necessarily the turnover rate, but the culture, we have pretty low turnover, and the people love working there, and they come to work very productive. I don't measure productivity like that. I don't have any way to do it in office environments, factories. You know, we don't measure output by worker. We measure output by the total work cell. So we don't really focus on it too much. But I do know personally that I have a lot of really great dedicated employees, and they work their butt off. So that's how I would measure it. Yes, sir.
Do you have more than one shift?
Yeah, we work 2 shifts. We're heading to a third. Actually, our warehouse is now on a third, and we don't like to run 3 shifts. It's just hard for the employees, and finding all those employees and managing that workforce. We like running 2. Gives you time off shift to do maintenance on equipment and those sorts of things. So, but we're at 3 at the moment on certain areas of the company. Okay? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jack. In honor of his being our speaker today, we asked him to autograph our book plate inside the book that we're going to